Welcome to the Scent of Beauty. My name is Susan, and this video is titled, It Could Be Worse. Superlative to what? Part 3. If you haven't listened to part 1 and 2, I suggest you listen to those videos and then come back. But superlative, bad, worse, worse. It could be worse is a statement. Sometimes it is a blanket statement because is our body in line with that script? Because if that statement is actually examined, the actual substandard position is negative by a point system, bad, worst, worse. Is that the determining factor? It's like the beta, like the second star in the constellation, the second brightest tier. Or in this case, it's the second concerning tier, bad and worse. Not getting to the worst part of a situation, but worse is not good. Do I dare say it's concerning? Playing hard to lose by less, not to win. Does this mean there is a satisfaction with the first place runner-up? The second place in a two-man sport, like a division? Because when we say it could be worse, we want to take a look at the actual picture, not just the statement itself. So it could be worse. Is it more proximity focus? Not too far behind? Losing, but not too far behind? Is it the one closest to the champion wins the second podium? It could be worse. Is it the third podium? Is it a pecking order instead of the gold medal? We are amazing beings. And that's why in the Scent of Beauty, these videos are just for us to take an introspect look at ourselves, at the things that we say. Our scent of beauty, is it really as sweet, as potent, as beautiful as we were created for it to be and release? Sometimes these blanket statements are the ones that's holding us back from being excessively bright, excessively vibrant. So it could be worse. Is it a pep talk to brush off something bad, even worse? But what was bad is my question, and why is the level of worse tolerable than worse? We don't say it could be worse when we're having fun, excelling, when we're winning. It's a relative declaration that is used as an affirmation, I believe. The question is, what could it, and is the place one find themselves when these words are spoken, a level-headed, rational, informed being as far as the body-mind experiences. The mind, the message of the mind and the message of the body doesn't always correlate. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But in this video, we could take a look at the messages that our bodies are stating viscerally. So when we state it could be worse, my question to that statement is, where do you get your inspiration that inspires that conclusion? The premise. Like, where's that setting, the the scene? Where is that region, that location, that background? Where is that site? Where is it coming from? That statement. What is at the core of that belief? Those words can be spoken frivolously, not really serious, like not a purposeful thought, but does the body react in a significant, disagreeable manner? I have to take a look at my body reactions. The body can express, as I said before, visceral feelings, feelings that we don't think about, a memory that the mind is not focusing on. And that's why I love and respect the body. And while our minds can compartmentalize, sometimes our bodies will not. And while the body might be sending messages to our spinal cord, which is ignored, it doesn't mean that the body omit the message. It doesn't mean that the body will omit the message. It just means that the body will hold the message. But in holding, sometimes it's difficult for the body to control or ignore it. And it's expressed in some of the worst manner. I've heard the statement, something is taking its toll on my body. Could it be that because of those statements, it could be worse, or even that belief, it could be worse, that the toll was being sounded, that bell, but the bell was being ignored because it wasn't as loud as the blanket statement that we cover some of these experiences with. I needed a visceral being to help me understand and hopefully convey why the statement, it could be worse, deserve a probing eye or eyes. I needed a partnership, one cultured, like our minds, I find is more cultured, relatively understood, and the other completely visceral. Emotions, impulses, but also an anomaly, something different, exceptional, anomalous in just its nature, like a deviation from the common rules, its arrangements, its form. So I needed a relationship that one partner gets doted on by the masses and the other is relative to a few. As beings, we usually think most of the day is thinking, perceiving, perceptions, conclusions, while the body is dressed, but it's sending a lot of messages, but viscerally, because it's not in our thoughts. We're not having a conscious moments of our bodies. We have conscious moments of thoughts, but how much conscious and conscience do we have in regards to our body? So a union, extreme individuals in regards to contribution, but a couple nonetheless. The relevance of the surrounding parts are as significant as the occupied parts. Like, in other words, we think a lot and in our surroundings and in our occupied parts, like our jobs, at home, places that we occupy. But do we take a look and are we familiar with? What our bodies are doing in these situations. I needed more than we think, or more than we think. I should say more than we think of in a conscious context. And I thought about our sun, the star. The star acknowledged, or it can be ignored. It doesn't disappear, but it's not actually in our frontal, like it's not in our frontal realm. We don't literally look at it. We have to look up to see it. But the sun keeps doing what a star by nature does. So the star keeps doing what a star by nature does or do. The sun is repetitiously and is, I want to say it's repetitious. The sun is repetitious, and its intelligence is not based on a conscience to yield or to advance. However, it is a complete set of successions. And that's why I love the sun. And that's why I love my body, because that's how my body reacts in many ways. If we become familiar with the series of our own individual body mechanism, because two stars are not exactly alike, we could learn our solar maximum and our solar minimum. And we'll talk more about that in the next video. However, and we can not only brace ourselves if we're having an emotional reaction, but we can also hear and helps our bodies to process the message that has affected its being. The sun is not that way. And while we can try to implement plans, if the sun's solar maximum engulf the earth, and I'll go more into that again in the fourth video, the gift that we have as intelligent human beings, we have a conscience. That's the difference as far as our body mechanism than the star. We know how to yield or advance to slow down our body maximum behavior. We have behavior modification. And so getting not just familiar, but fascinated with our own proverbial star, our bodies. Our star, the sun, it has what is called solar flares and solar storms, and if they're released and they hit the earth, again, I'll go into it more in the fourth video, but the impact it could have on the earth when it gets wound up, it's severe. And what about when our bodies go through these cycles that we are not paying attention to, nor have the information about our body mechanism? And then they release these storms, and it impacts our psyche. You know, the sun temperament was a mystery because it was seen but not heard. Its warmth felt, but not. So the warmth, right? The warmth felt, but not convulsions. The sun has coils and twists, the process of becoming over and over, but that's not really seen and known unless investigated. Very complex, very difficult to follow. Little is verily known about the visceral partner, mostly what is in apparent, what we could see. If you don't ask, it doesn't tell. Not as forthcoming as the counterpart. Like, we'll think about it. Our minds will tell us what we're thinking and feeling. But the body, it doesn't impose its message, it sends the message. Just like the sun, these dynamic duos. And since we're talking about the body, we're talking about visceral feelings. The sun is one of the most visceral being I know. So, NASA, are you there? We're going to go into the next video and we're going to take a look at what visceral feelings really look like on an extreme level and see if we can relate it to our body mind experience. Welcome to the Scent of Beauty. Thank you.